I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of Heart to Heart with Bree. And tonight we'll be talking about the Genesis Football Club. And I'd like to welcome my guests. Would you please introduce yourself, starting with Coach Andrew?
Good evening, Bree. Thank you so very much once more for providing this platform for Genesis Football Academy. My name is Andrew Edwards. I am the founder, technical director, and chairman of Genesis Football Academy. Um, I grew up in Port Antonio, Portland, went to Teachfield High School. I've been a football coach since 1996, teaching in the classroom since 1995. And yeah, I have three boys and one daughter as my own biological children. And of course, I have hundreds of other boys and girls that are my babies through football and the classroom.
Camille, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good evening again, Miss Bree. Good evening, Mr. Andrew and little man Monero. I am a parent here of Genesis Academy, of course. Proudly to say, um, I have children, two girls, one boy, and that boy is a football lover. Well, I'm thinking to put on the baby next because she loves the football, but time is it with her. But I am a past student here of Homewood Technical High. I was once a human resource manager, but no, I'm at home. I'm an at-home mom from now because of the baby. But being a part of Genesis, trust me, it's a whole experience and an experience that I have loved over the time span that I've been there together with them. Not a long time span, but the time span seems like it's so long ago because of the interaction and the love with them.
Munir, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
My name is Monir Davis. I'm a player of Genesis Football Academy, and Mr. Edwards is my coach, and also all other staff members.
Okay, you did a great job. So let's start with you, Coach Andrew. Why did you establish the Genesis Academy?
Um, Thank you for the question. I think the main reason for establishing Genesis Football Academy is really to provide footballing experiences, football developmental opportunities or pathways for children in this part of Jamaica, rural Jamaica, central Jamaica to be exact. But if I could just step back a little bit, because Genesis didn't actually start out as Genesis Football Academy in Mandeville, Manchester. We started back in 2011 when I was still at St. Elizabeth Technical High School in Santa Cruz as Future Stars Football Academy then. We didn't actually last a year before things fell apart. Excuse me. And that falling apart in hindsight was a huge blessing in disguise. I transitioned from States to Monroe College. In the same period of time, I was just getting my foothold into international football as a coach of the Jamaican under 17 and under 20 teams. And those opportunities also meant that I was beginning to do a lot of traveling throughout the Caribbean and CONCACAF regions. You know, studied a bit in Brazil also. And so there was really just not the time, the experience, the know how to really establish the academy the way I had envisioned it. So when we moved from St. Elizabeth to live in Mandeville in 2015, at this time now, Nikki and I had brought into the world Amari, and he had started to demonstrate the aptitude and the interest for the sport, always kicking a ball around the house and just without any kind of coaching or formal exposure, put that in quotation marks. He was displaying very good technique, certainly in striking the ball and stuff like that. So I say, you know what, the time is right. Let's do it. I went ahead and I tried to, you know, pick the brain of people in the parish who I knew was involved in football and certainly at the very highest level. And to my dismay, there was literally nobody outside of my circle that thought it could be done. In fact, I was told flatly that it would not happen. Um, it could not become a success. People would not support it. And this evening I'm sitting here talking with you, Brie. I feel vindicated, that in another 9 months, Genesis will be celebrating 10 years of existence. And in that time, we have seen the mushrooming and growth of other academies in and around the region, in Mandeville, Manchester. So it's not that it could not have happened. It just did not happen because nobody else had the wherewithal or the will, the desire to do it. And I'm not saying this to be bashful of anyone or to be boastful either, but just to put it out there that when you have a dream, when you believe in something, you can't allow yourself to be deterred by people who do not see what you are seeing. And so I am really happy for the progress that we have made through the years, the growth that we have had, and certainly the accomplishments that we have had. And I think that we have come this far, established a strong enough foundation to take bigger and bolder steps going forward.
That's really wonderful to hear. And it just goes to show what determination can do. I mean, sometimes when things are falling apart, they're actually falling in place. And, I'm just glad that you did not give up. I'm really proud of you for that, Andrew. My next question is, and I'll start with Camille. What does the game of football mean to you?
Okay, so football means a lot to me. To me, it's more than a sport, it's also a way of life. It teaches commitment, hard work, dedication, perseverance, positivity, dedication, and self worth, and so much more. Not just for the players, but for us as parents as well. It brings people together once they have definite reasons. Um, it creates lasting memories, and it offers our children something positive to strive for. Um, Watching my son fall or fell in love with football has made me uh, appreciated football in a different level and at a different level. It comes in all in one, growth, joy, and community.
Yes. Yes, well said. I'd like to welcome Mikey Go. Thank you for tuning in, Mikey. I appreciate you so much. You know, I can tell you as a fan, I think it's connecting with other people that love the sport, connecting with other people that support the club that you support. It's like when I meet fellow Arsenal supporters, there's that instant connection. So it's growing up in England, it just felt like it was just in the blood. I can't begin to tell anyone how I love this game. I mean, oh my gosh, I could go on all day talking about football. So I'll ask you next, Munir, what does the game mean to you?
Football means to me is like a team sport. Is more than is a team sport and helps you with your development. It helps you to build more skills, and it brings joy. It brings joy to you, and you can do it. You can do it. It matters how you play the sport. You can make it how shall I can say this now? You can make it more fun. Yeah, more fun.
Yes, and I like that you said joy, because I tell you what, it brings a lot of joy, especially when you're winning. It's like when I'm watching my team winning. Oh my gosh, I can't even begin to
It
tell you
brings
how
it brings
good.
it brings a lot of joy. It brings a lot of joy.
Yes, it does. Coach Andrew, what does the game of football mean to you?
Thank you for the question. I just want to pause real quick to big up Mikey Go on the podcast now live. Thank you for joining, Mikey. And anybody else who is there, thank you also for joining in with us. Football is literally life for me. I mean, like, I literally cannot imagine my life without football. I mean, like, I'm either coaching, playing, watching the game, studying the game. It's just everything. And you know, when I'm not actually on the field, even when I'm teaching in the classroom or doing other things, I find myself referencing football experiences or football situations. And then on the flip side, I can draw from other life experiences. For example, when I coached Titchfield, they were one of the youngest players on the team that we went to the finals with in 2003. Um, they called him Baby. His name was Samora, I think Barrett. Yeah, Samora Barrett. He came from Windsor Castle side. And he was one of the hardest working players on the field. Never shy away from work. So he played the number 6 position for us. But if you saw that kid off the field, you couldn't. It's almost like the way he lived his life off the field is the same way him living life on the field. And I started to pay close attention, and I realized that if you have a kid who is lazy outside of the field, don't expect that kid to come on the field and be a hardworking person. It just doesn't work that way. Of course, there are exceptions. It's not that everybody is, you said, oh, they all work hard off the field, they go work hard on the field. No, it's just not like that. But the general rule is that you watch people off the field, you see how they study, how they carry themselves, you're going to see pretty much the very same thing on the field of play, and over the years, as I've come to learn more and develop a greater appreciation for the sport and the developmental side of it, which is what Genesis is really about, we come to appreciate that there are 4 pillars of development in the game. There's the physical, which deals with the running, jumping, kicking, etc. Then there's the technical, tactical part, which is actually controlling the ball, dribbling the ball, passing the ball, playing with teammates. And then there's the psychological part of it, the psychosocial, the emotional part of it. And I find that most of us as coaches in Jamaica, and I want people to pay attention to the pronoun us, we focus so much of our time developing the physical and technical, tactical side of the game that, and probably even technical more so than tactical, that we sometimes forget the psychological side, the social side of the game. And those parts of the game are probably more important than the physical and technical sides of the game. Because a kid who is confident and who is sociable will automatically learn more and develop easier in the game. A kid who is cognitively well developed, are cognitively sufficiently developed, they take on information better, easier, and so now we try as much as possible to ensure that all the things that we do at Genesis incorporates all of those 4 pillars of development, so that the kids that come to us are fully equipped to deal with not just football but life on a whole, because we are cognizant of the fact and we are conscious of the fact that probably just about 1%, if not less than 1% of the kids that come to us will actually have a future in football as a player. So we are very proud that we have kids who have come to us as football players and are now trained referees. We have the Genesis website, which we'd want to invite our guests to check out, is managed and maintained by a student. I think he's probably watching us right now. His name is Wyatt Dwyer, goes to Monroe College in Fort Farm. And so he would have loved to play the game all the times. And he does play sometimes in training, but I think he recognizes that he's not at the level to play and go forward as a player. And so we find an opportunity for him to use his best skills, which is in the field of technology and computer science. And we have a number of other kids who are already looking at careers in physiotherapy and sports journalism and so on. And we are trying to encourage these things because we, as I said before, we know that not all of them are going to become football stars, if any of them for that matter, at least in the current generation.
Wow. I was just thinking to myself, thank God you were able to push through with your academy, because I think you're making a difference in the lives of children. And, you know, whether they're playing or not, the fact that they can still be a part of the game, I think that's a wonderful thing, which leads to my next question. What are your goals for the academy, Andrew?
Well, so the goals are always evolving. Let me start with that. So the goals that we have today, I hope that we don't have the same goals in another year, at least not at the same level, or that the goals will change. But suffice to say that we have a strategic development plan that guides much of the work that we do, if not all the work that we do. We are currently in year 3, going 4 of the strategic development plan. And some of the key things that are inside of that plan is, excuse me, we want to continue to produce players who will make the national youth teams. We have had a number of success stories so far, and we want to increase the number of those success stories. We want to continue to support and facilitate kids from the academy accessing scholarships to universities locally and internationally. We have a couple of success stories so far, and we want to increase that number, of course. Um, we started to travel internationally in December 2023. We went to the Shackmore Youth Classics in Trinidad and Tobago. Last year we were in the US at the US Cup in Minnesota, and we want to return to Minnesota this year. We are currently looking at some invitations. We have an invitation to take one team to Spain next year over the Easter holiday. And we also have an invitation. We just got that invitation on Thursday this week for a tournament in Peru. And we would really love to send at least one team down there for that. Because all of these different type of experiences and exposures will enrich the lives of the kids individually, their families, and of course the academy and the surrounding communities that the academy serves. If I were to pick one real goal, however, the big goal that we're really looking forward to now is we want to get to a place where we can identify a space that we can call our home, develop that space, and make it the home of Genesis Football Academy. It's not something that we expect to achieve overnight, but we would really love to kickstart that project, that particular accomplishment, to mark our 10th anniversary next year.
That would be wonderful. I'd like to ask you, when you receive these invitations for your team to travel overseas, does this include any financial help for the kids to travel, any, for accommodations, anything of that nature?
Currently, none of those invitations that we have come with that. Usually, if it was like what do you call it now? Like a select invitation type tournament. So let's say, for example, if it was let's say Arsenal, for example, inviting Genesis and Chelsea and Everton, then chances are they would cover those kinds of expensive, or at least part of it. But the invitations that we have now is just basically an opportunity to participate or to compete in these tournaments, which is still a big deal for us. So we will have to raise funds as much as we possibly can. The parents will have to offset the cost as much as they can to make it possible. And as always, we are hopeful that from using or taking advantage of this opportunity that you have presented to us to speak to you and of course your audience, that maybe there are persons out there who might be interested in supporting what we're doing in that particular way, or any other way that for that matter. And so, we have had situations in the past where individual kids have gotten support from companies or whether in part or in full. So that is something else that we will also be looking at going forward.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'd like to welcome my friend Stephanie. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am just hoping that there's someone watching who would be willing to help in that way, because I know you're doing this for the love of it, and I know you're doing it to help the kids. But at the end of the day, this is expensive, and I can imagine for the parents, they don't want to see something like this pass their kid by. So I am just hoping that someone who is watching will think about helping in some small way. That's my hope. Camille, my question for you is, what does the academy mean to you as a parent?
Okay, so to me, this academy, Genesis Academy, has been a blessing to me and my son. When I just put him over into Genesis, I was a little bit concerned because he's shy, and that was one of the reasons as well why I put him over to play football, because as I said, football is a thing that he loves, and I think putting him into an academy will help him to shun out of that type of attitude. And ever since I put him into the academy, I have seen a change, and I've seen a big change from him, in him, sorry. And when I look at it, I say to myself, it is, it is the bond that he has with his coach, and when he goes to training, or when he goes to whatever tournament or whatever it is, um the experience that he gets with them, that is one thing that allowed him to pull out of that shell, and it has meant a lot to me. It's more than just football. As I said, it's a community that supports growth, discipline, and teamwork. And as a parent, it gives me peace just to know that my child is in a safe and structured environment that also encourages dreams.
Yes, well said, well said. Andrew, I have to ask you this, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I know with the expenses that come along with doing something like this, how often are you putting your own money into this? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I know you, and I know your brother, and I know you may not want to be public about certain things, but I know whatever you can do to help these kids, you're doing it. And I want the viewers to understand, like, you're putting a lot of time and effort. You're doing a lot for these children, and it's important. It takes a village, as they say, and I am just hoping that someone will understand. It's important for us to reach out and to help you in any way that we can.
It's not a matter of putting me on the spot, There's not, I'm not trying to have any secrets about this. Um, the truth is, when we started Genesis back in 2016, and even going further back to Future Stars Football Academy, all the resources came from what my wife and I could afford. Today, we don't have to dig as deep as we used to have to, but we always have to, you know. Today, the kids contribute in part with training fees and registration. Some of them do. We still have a number of them that are um, sponsored, so to speak, or scholarship awardees. And then we do have a few sponsors that support what we do. And we also have a few friends of the academy that will from time to time make contributions, whether in cash or kind. Um, a couple of weeks ago, probably about 2 months ago, um, we set up a gift basket on Amazon, and we just shared it with our community, and we got a few positive responses. We got a few pieces of training equipment, some balls. I know we're supposed to be getting two tents that are on We try to reach out and ask for help, and we do all that we can do. Um, it, it, of course, I would love to be able to do a lot much more, but at the end of the day, as I said to a couple of people in a meeting on Thursday night, that you know, as long as we are able to, we're going to keep going with Genesis. We're not going to be turning back kids. We're not going to fold up and close the doors. You know, sometimes it's really difficult. I'll confess, because sometimes when you do the tournaments, whether locally or internationally, there are costs that you probably underestimated, or that you did not see. And then sometimes there are kids who just can't afford, and you try to find the help for them, and when they follow through on those commitments, squarely on my shoulder, and we have to take care of it. And we have done it in the past. We are currently doing it as we speak, and we hope that we'll get to a stage where we won't have to. But at the end of the day, this is a calling that we're answering without any kind of fear or reservations, and we'll just go as far as we can with it. And hopefully, the biggest dream of it all, Bree, is that if not my own kids, some of the kids who are currently in the academy will fall in love with Genesis so much so that they will want to take it a step further when I can't carry it any further.
Yes, yes. I'm so glad you said that, because I want the viewers to understand just how dedicated you are to this academy and to the children. And like I said, I'm hoping that someone will reach out and want to help. Karen is asking, is this a special live? Yes, it is, Karen. This is tonight for the Genesis Football Academy for Andrew. It's like, any way that I can use my platform to help anyone, I will gladly do it. And, Andrew, his brother Richie, they're friends of mine. And, I'm just so glad to be able to help in my small way to do this. And Karen also attended Titchfield. Andrew, just want to let you know we're before your time. So, and I'd like to welcome my friend, Dr. Joe.
Welcome, Karen. Thanks for
Dr.
joining
Joe
us.
Dexter Randall is also a
Yes.
past student of Titchfield. Thank you so much for tuning in, my friends.
Oh, so nice. Hi, Dr. Joan.
I'd like to ask Munier, what does the academy mean to you as a student?
So the academy brings me exposure. So we go to tournaments in all around the parishes, especially for Kingstons. They help me with my development, and so for example, at training, the coaches always talk to me, said to do this and that and that and whatever, and I follow what they do. I try to do my best to please them and try to become one of the best players in the academy.
Well said. Well said. Coach Andrew, my next question is, what role does the game of football play in a child's well-being and development?
It's a beautiful question, Bree, a real beautiful question. So most people, forgive me for going off on a little tangent here, but like in Jamaica, we still treat sports in general, not just football, as something for idle people with nothing to do, So these are people who are not really going anywhere, people with no progressive agendas. That's kind of how we still treat in sports. We are not recognizing sports as a business, sports as a career pathway, sports as a significant contributor to health and well-being. So I wanted to just put that out there first. But in terms of what we do at Genesis and how we view the football, so it's about the game first and foremost. But the game is, as Monier would have said, as Camille would have said, and I think I might have said it before as well, it's more than just a game of people kicking around a ball. If we were to look at the physical side, I think all our kids have some love and appreciation for physical activity. They enjoy the physical activity. They work really hard. Even the kids that we would typically classify as fat or chubby. They come out and they work just as hard as the other kids. And, you know, some of them from the past, I can remember some of them, how they would have shed the baby weight and just have real athletic looking bodies now. But whether or not they get to that athletic level, just the fact that they move, you know, like, and this is something that is very dear to me because, like, every so often I see our Minister of Health come on and talk about um, no sweet in school and all of these other stuff they talk about health. And I'm not intent on trying to oppose or anything like that. But when I was going to school, as a matter of fact, one of the persons I look up to a lot these days, my father-in-law, is 94 years old. And he's a sweet tooth, straight up, sweet tooth guy, you know. But Dada at 94 goes over to the field and still plant in cabbage or lettuce or potatoes, whatever. I'm always planting something. I'm busy busting a sweat, as we would say in Jamaican parlance. And so just the fact that we create this opportunity for the kids to come out and exercise is a big deal. I think it will extend their life. It will make their life healthier. You know, they will have less doctors' visits. You know, I think that's a big deal for it. Um, the social development cannot be underestimated. You hear Camille talk about how her son would have um, begun to move away from being this little shy kid. And I can tell you, there's a many stories about that kind of kid who comes to us, and you literally have to literally hold their hands to get them started. The way they, to how shy they were or how scared they were. So that's a big deal. The social development, you know, and we do take deliberate steps with those things as well. Um, One of the founding principles of Genesis is the academic side of things. So while we don't get directly involved in the homes or the schools, we do maintain relationships with the families, with some of the schools, and we do check in on some of the students and we challenge them. You know, we one of the things that most times the training session will start with, what did you do at school today? Tell us a little about what you learned at school. And as simple as it might seem, it causes the kids to reflect on what they did at school and to present it in front of a group. And just that alone, in terms of the confidence to talk in front of their teammates, over time, that's a big deal for them. You know, the opportunities when a kid going to Kingston for the first time is nothing
Yes.
to scoff at. And it goes even further. Last year, when we went to Trinidad in December 2023, I think almost all the kids on that flight, including a few of the parents who came with us, were traveling for the
Wow.
first time overseas. And that experience was not just about flying on a plane, but they came to Trinidad on the plane and then took the ferry from Trinidad over to Tobago. That was just something that even
Wow.
now they talk about it, you know. And when we went to the US last year, that's another ball game all to itself. We stayed in a dorm where there were Brazilian kids on the same dorm with us, kids from Costa Rica. They played against kids from Brazil, kids from Norway, or with kids from Norway, from the UK, all over. So it was just like a cultural immersion for them. And even though sometimes in training you hear them talk about little nuggets of stuff that they picked up when they traveled here, when they traveled there, you know. And then for those kids who have made the next step and gone into the national youth teams, that's another story all for itself, you know, not just for the kid, but for their homes, their schools, their families, their communities is a
Yes.
big deal. And then last thing I would say is that because we put such a strong emphasis on academic effort, those kids and those homes that really um, gravitate to that particular thing are the ones who have, are some of the ones who have actually gone away on scholarships. And some of those are now in the ranks looking forward to getting their own scholarships. You know, so for us, it is a holistic kind of thing. And we want to build a community that has those kinds of things in the forefront and the back of their minds, you know. And I think one of the other things that I would say is that the football provides a safe space. You know, at Genesis, when we say a safe space, it's not just a physically safe space, it's an emotionally safe space, it's a socially safe space, it's a intellectually safe space. And of course, there are challenges sometimes. We don't want to give anybody the impression that it
Right.
is all hunky-dory and smooth. But when those challenges come, we try to address them as quickly as possible, and in the best way possible for the benefit of all.
Thank you. Stephanie wants to know, where is your football group located? We're in Jamaica.
Thank you for the question, Steph. So we're located in Mandeville, Manchester, and we train at Brooks Park on Wint Road. Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
good enough
Okay.
for the
And
time being.
I'd like to ask Munier, what do you like about football?
So that's a great question, though. So what I like about football is because it's a team sport. You can knock around the ball, and I can see some physical tackles, and you can say that there's more action in the games than other sports, more physical tackles and all those stuff. And you can and I like how people power shot those balls. When you're kicking the ball, you just power shot top bins. Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Well said. Well said. Camille, what would you like to say to parents who are thinking of enrolling their child in a football academy? And I'll say Genesis as an example.
Go for it. Go for it. Especially if the academy is like Genesis, where there's a heart behind the training, you know. And I must say, hats off to you, Sir Andrew. And this is the reason why I say hats off to you, is because he might be stern during training, but there is a level of love that he shows to those children. Remember, every children is coming from a different home. They have different backgrounds, and we're living in a black society where many homes are without fathers. There's no man in the home, but when it comes to training, and or they goes to a football match, after that match, as stern as he is, he shows to them that fatherly love that they deserves. um it's not just about winning games, but it's about life lessons, friendships, confidence, and the list goes on. The earlier you support these passion or their passion, the stronger their foundation becomes.
I like that. I like that. Andrew, I know you're a humble guy, but you have to know you're making a difference in the lives of these children and in these families.
You know, nothing we do is for just us. If there's a selfish motive in this all, many, many years ago when I was still just a young man, I came upon this idea that if I'm going to be safe in the world, it is based on how I treat people. I don't believe that guns and grills and security guards can keep you safe. I really believe that if people love you, they'll
Yes.
protect you. They'll look out for you. They'll bring you less harm. But aside from that, though, I just wanted to pick up on something that Camille said a while ago. Obviously I am Mr. Genesis, but it's not just about me. I have the good fortune of having a very strong group of coaches around the academy. Some who are still with us, some who would have served with us before and moved on. But I'm not always able to be there, and even when I am there, the other coaches do play their part. And I think what Camille said a while ago is what I do, but I am sure that all the other coaches do it in their own way as well, and do it exceedingly well, if I might say so. So I would want to, just use this moment to salute those coaches, give them my best respects, and extend my deepest appreciation for the work that they do in the academy.
That's nice. I would like to ask you, Andrew, what are the needs of the academy? And you mentioned something about like an Amazon thing. if you were to do that again, would someone in the US be able to participate in that?
Yeah, of course. So training equipment, gears are constant needs. You always have those things, and you can't have too many of certainly balls. We always have a big need for balls. And the Amazon gift basket, so to speak, is always there. What we do is we prefer for people to reach out first, just in case there's something that is more needed now than something else that is there, or sometimes we update it. So that is always there. Um, in this present moment, I would say in terms of highest need, footballs, um, gears, other training equipment for sure, and cash. I know cash is a very delicate issue. I know people have their own reasons, and some people have had bad experiences. And so, if persons want to give cash, they don't have to give the cash directly. But for example, if we are going to make this trip to Barcelona next year, or to Peru, or the US Cup in July of this year, and you want to purchase a plane ticket for a kid, or you want to pay for boarding and lodging and food for a kid, that's still cash. And for what it is worth, Genesis is a registered company, a non-profit registered company, registrar of companies here in Jamaica. We have to file our taxes and other documents every year. Um, we have no objection of providing anything at all that is required for someone to say, here is $1, here is 10. Anything that you would require of us, we can provide that to give you the confidence that your money is spent where you intended for it to be spent.
And I would like to remind my viewers, and I tell you all the time, if I have anyone on my program, this is someone I know and that I trust. And I can tell you, Andrew and the Academy, they're the real deal. So I'm hoping that, listen, if you have $10 that you want to send to the Academy, they're not going to tell you, no, it's not enough. They will take it because, as they said in Jamaica, what lickle make nuff, right? So
Right?
you
Yes.
give what you can afford to give, and it's just as simple as that. So now,
Before
Camille,
you
I have
move,
to
Bree,
ask
sorry.
you,
Bree,
how
Bree,
how has
sorry.
excuse me?
Yeah, sorry. Before you move, you know, um, one of the greatest gifts that anyone can give to the academy, is to spread the word,
Yes.
to tell somebody else about the academy. It's one of the greatest gifts, share something about the academy. Um, uh, it, it- our website is genesisfootballca.com. It captures most, if not all, of what have done in the past, what we're doing now, what we will do in the future. And it provides you direct contact to me, to our social media platforms, everything. So even just a share would go a very far way. So sometimes it's not about the cash, sometimes it's about a deed and an intent.
Yes. Yes. And I would say one thing about like the Titchfield community. We're a tight knit community, and we have always looked out for each other. So let's remember Coach Andrew, whatever you can afford to donate to the Academy, any way that you can help, please reach out. So my next question is for Camille. How has your child, you said you have one child in the Academy right now, how has your child benefited from the Academy?
Okay, so he has benefited in many ways: physically, emotionally, educationally, and mentally. When I say educationally, he's a smart boy. He's very smart, but I have seen a change, and a drastic change, since he has started playing football at Genesis. His average score has been jumped to a higher score. And as I asked him a question the other day, I said to him, Caleb, how you haven't been scoring these scores a long time? And he said to me, Mommy, I always want to play football and my mind was on it. And he said, ever since I started to play football, I am way more focused. And I said to him, oh, so I get to realize that a sport, we're focusing on football now, but let me drift a little bit, and sorry
That's
for
fine.
drifting a little bit. But let me say this: when a child loves something or a sport and you put that child into it, it can create a drastic change in them. And I've seen that in my son. Um, Genesis has helped, to shape him into a more focused and responsible person. When I said to him, I said, listen, remember you have training on these particular days. So when he leaves extra lesson and he gets home, I say to him, ensure that these things are put into place so that when you get home, you don't have to be shuffling and looking for anything, especially how boys stay. And ever since he started to play football, I've seen something in him where he's more neat, and he's well put together. So I don't have to tell him to do certain stuff anymore. That's on his responsibility, and I see where he has become responsible. Not only him, but for the time span that I've been there, I've seen other footballers or players that are on the team that have changed off in many ways. And I must say, the academy has taught these children how to be accountable, and responsible. Also, it has taught them to be courteous.
Wow. Andrew, you have to feel so. I mean, I know you're a humble guy, said it earlier, but you have to feel good to know that the academy is making such a difference.
Of course. And funny thing, when you told me you wanted a parent on the cast, I reached out to a number of parents. There were others who were interested, but the timing was not good for them. When I reached out to Camille, she said yes, and she's saying some things here right now that literally I didn't, I didn't know she had. I've been having these kinds of experiences and seeing these things, so it's really heartwarming. And we're grateful and inspired even more so that we're making that kind of impression on her and of course her own child. And I would hope and believe that with other kids. I see Coach Drusel Tomlinson, our only
Yes.
female coach, is in the chat. You're welcome, Coach.
Yes,
And I see
Stephanie, Lucille.
Lucille,
She's asking how
Stephanie.
does she give?
Right,
So I don't know if you want if
right.
do you want to let the viewers know how they can donate?
Of course. It depends on how they want to do it. And what it is that they want to donate. Um, Coach Drusel, kindly share the Amazon link in the group for me, please. You are able to share in the chats. Um, if it is cash, then they would probably need to reach out to me to figure out how we're
I
going to
can
do that.
pass your
Whether they
information
pay
on
me,
to her. Stephanie, I'll pass on Andrew's
right?
information
You
to
know,
you. And I would like to ask
correct.
Stephanie. Stephanie also has a podcast. Stephanie lives in Canada. So I'm hoping that Stephanie can have you on
Okay,
her platform to give you more exposure. And
would be
she was actually a
appreciative greatly.
teacher at Titchfield. It's Titchfield in the house on the way. She was
Oh,
a teacher at Titchfield. So yeah, I will definitely pass
nice,
your
nice.
information on to her. I will definitely do that.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so
Munier,
very
my
much.
next question is for you. What has the academy done for you as a player and as a student?
So it gives me exposure, and they carry me to the every single parish to play football, especially Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Catherine. And I really loved it. I score goals, make assists, try to make good plays, and so on, so on. And and the coaches in the academy are very kind, and they so it's like they communicate to me very very well, and if I'm down, they always support me no matter what.
And do they make sure that you're doing your homework and that you're getting good grades at school?
Especially mostly Coach Andre Edwards, mostly.
Okay. That's a good thing. Coach Andrew,
One area you don't like playing different positions too.
Coach Andrew, I have to ask you, why have you chosen to dedicate yourself to the game of football and the young people that you have coached over the years?
You know, the truth is, I don't think that I have chosen to do that. I think I was chosen to do it, you know. Um, Growing up, and not just a regular journalist, but a journalist who would be covering like wars. You know, in as a young man, I used to read and hear about the wars in Lebanon and Israel and Palestine, you know, Vietnam and so on. And I don't know why. It's just something that I used to dream about. My grandmother, may her soul rest in peace, she wanted me to become a lawyer. You know, when I finished high school, my first job was at Courts Jamaica Limited as a warehouse supervisor, and I had walked away from that job for a couple of reasons. I was at home, and then their teaching vacancy was open at Teachfield, and I went and spoke to Mr. Taxter, and he offered me the job as a pre-trained teacher. Um, I've been teaching ever since. That was in 1995. In 1996, Peter Peart asked me to assist him with coaching the under 16 team at school, and I did. I'd done my first coaching license in the same time down at Clements Park in Port Maria, St. Mary, and I have not looked back since. Over time, I found myself drifting further and further away from the classroom and more into the football field. Um, and, you know, I've been very fortunate. Um, I got to coach the Jamaica under 20 team first as an assistant coach. Um, then I moved up to the under 17s. I got to study in Brazil. I got to study in Germany, and I've been fortunate to travel a number of countries across the CONCACAF region, a few in South America, and I mentioned Germany before. I've gone to Holland and Spain as well, and you get to see um, how football transform lives in these different countries. I read a lot about players, especially the players who are the ones that we see on TV every day. And you'd be surprised at how many of them are coming from places similar to the ones that we are trying to 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 find
Yeah.
that diamond in the rough, so to speak, from, you know. And so the dream is that we will help one boy, one girl to make that dream become a reality. You know, that we'll provide the platform, the wherewithal for them to be somebody that we might live long enough to see on our television screens playing for Arsenal or Chelsea or Real Madrid, whoever, it doesn't matter, you know, representing their country, you know, that's the big dream. And if for every single child that we create that opportunity for and that who takes advantage of that opportunity, then we celebrate, you know, we celebrate a huge success there, you know.
My next question is to each of you, when did you fall in love with the beautiful game? I can remember falling in love with the game. I had to have been about maybe 7 years old. And I fell in love with the game because of a player named George Best. I just love to watch him play. I'm surprised I was not I was never a Man U supporter, but to this day, George Best is one of my all-time favorite players. Sometimes I actually look back on some of the old clips to watch. It's still exciting to watch those old clips of him playing. So I'd like to ask each of you, when did you fall in love with the beautiful game? You can start with you, Coach Andrew.
All right, no problem. I can't put a specific date to it, you know. I remember watching the 1986 World Cup and cheering for Brazil, crying when they lost. I think it was the quarterfinals. But I grew up in Lovely in Port Antonio, and right right next to my yard was an open space that we used to call Bundong, where there's a big establishment now. Well, a number of stores on it, you know, a place that was developed by Beachy Stout. So we used to play ball out there. But when I was growing up as a kid, I wasn't allowed to go out there to play. My grandmother
Wow.
wouldn't have it, you know. Yeah, so we used to have to literally steal out of the yard and go play when she's not around. And we used to get a lot of licks for it, walk off with toe and get bruises all over your elbows and your knees. You just kept going. You just kept on going back and going back. You know, but so I probably would say about 1986 is where I would have really fell in love first with Brazil. Arsenal became a part of my life around about 1992 when people like Ian Wright and them guys were playing there. You know, so that's probably about it for me. Um, I didn't make it as a player. I didn't have anything much to talk about in my career as a player. But somehow Donald Davis, most people might know him as Dundee or Iman Black. You know, he coached me at Titchfield, and somehow he my way. I remember when I was
Yes.
still a member of the team in 1993 at school, he literally gave me the equipment, the training equipment, and said I was supposed to run the training sessions while
Wow.
he was absent, you know. And I asked him why, because there were many other players who were more senior, who were better football players than me. And he said one thing to me, you know, him said to me, put him on my shoulder and him said, Collar, he called me Collar. Him said, Collar, all of them respect you, man. Anything else if you do them, I'm gonna do it. And so said, so done. So I always tell people that is where my coaching journey started. And you know, we haven't looked back just yet. I will keep looking forward.
To be a coach, do you think it's like it takes that strong leadership quality, and he was able to see that in you? I mean, as well as the respect and everything that they had for you?
You know, I'm a coach educator as well. CONCACAF trained coach educator, FIFA trained coach educator. And one of the fundamental things that we teach coaches when they are learning to become coaches is leadership, and not just leadership openly, but leadership of the football environment. You know, so every good coach, every effective coach, um, leads their football environment. How they lead it, how good at it they are, is another question that we can discuss at other times. But leadership is a essential part, and one of my my North Star, as Richie would like to say, you know, is Major Lloyd Owenchin, my former principal. May his soul rest
Yes,
in
love
peace.
that guy.
He always, yeah, his way of teaching me about leadership, you know, was he asked me a question once when we were having some trouble with cadet in the cadet force. And he said to me, he said, you know, you don't call you by your first name, you call you by your surname, right? So he said, Edwards, if shit in the if somebody shit up at the top of the Rio Grande up a Bowden pen, what comes out down at Rafters Rest? You know, and I didn't understand it. I was in sixth form at the time when he asked me that because I didn't understand it until I became a man and started to work. You know, that literally everything rises and falls on leadership. And so if the leadership at the top is not right, then what flows out at the end is not going to be
Yes.
right either. You know, so I strive every day to become a better
Yes.
leader. I admit I have a number of weaknesses. I have a number of areas that I need to improve upon, but I try to stay humble and I try to to search for opportunities to become better.
Yes. Yes. And I think it shows, Andrew. I think, like I said, everything that Camille has said and what Munir has said, you know that you're making a difference. I have to ask you, Munir, when did you fall in love with the beautiful game?
I remember when I was 4 years old, I think it was 2017, when I was watching an El Clasico game against Barcelona versus Real Madrid. I see how Messi was playing. He was playing fantastic, dribbling and kicking the ball. I remember when he scored that last minute goal to make it 3-2. And then I told my dad, said, Dad, I want to play football. I want to play football. And he said, okay. So we started to train at my backyard. He taught me how to control the ball, how to kick the ball properly with my side foot, not with my toe poke. And I just listened to him, and then I started to progress. And then in 2022, I started to play in the school football season. Then in 2024, I started to play with Genesis, and my development keep going on.
Wow. Camille, and I'll ask you, Camille, when did you fall in love with the beautiful game?
Okay, so I wasn't a fan of football. I used to watch it, but wasn't a fan of football until I was working at a particular place, and I remember I was in a position, and I remember I got a task to be done, and it was a little bit itchy for me. And I remember when one of my superiors turned to me and said to me, if you want to know how to work under pressure, and if you want to know how to become a great leader, focus on football. And when he said that to me, I was like, but what is really there in football? Because other games, pressure is there and whatever. And he said to me, no, yes, pressure is there on the other sports, but take a look, focus on football and take a look at the different areas, and then you will realize that the level of pressure that is there is totally different. And that was when I started to pull football a little bit closer to me and focus on it. And that, trust me, that has helped me over the years, elevation to elevation to elevation.
That was great advice. That was great advice. It definitely was. Now, Coach Andrew, I know that you're a Brazil supporter and an Arsenal supporter. I would like to ask Munir, for your favorite club or your favorite country. What's your favorite team and what's your favorite team, country?
So actually, I have two favorite teams, but one of them has to be top one. So my two favorite teams, FC Barcelona and Arsenal. But my first, it will be Arsenal. And my favorite country will be Argentina.
Good taste, good. I love your Arsenal answer. that I can say. And Camille, what are your favorite teams?
Okay, so my favorite teams are Manu. So Manu, and my husband will tell you, yeah, when Manu is playing, I'll sit with him and I'll watch. From that, I am missing in action. I ready to come and ask him what's the score for other teams, but once Manu is playing, yeah, man, I'll sit and watch it.
Okay, well, I can tell everyone, everyone that knows me, they know I'm an Arsenal supporter. I've been an Arsenal supporter since 1972. And I am an England supporter. It breaks my heart every 4 years when we lose the World Cup yet again, but it's like I'm holding on to the hope. I am definitely holding on to that hope. So I have to ask you next. I'll ask you, Coach Andrew, who is your favorite player of all time?
Come on, Bree. Come on, Bree. I never actually saw Pele played live, but I watched so many videos of him. I literally used to have a video cassette in the days of video cassette. We used to watch it so often. And I swear, there's no player that I've seen who can touch the king.
I agree with you.
Anything that they claim to be doing, that they claim to be inventing, the king did that and does stuff that. So, I mean, I can't compare anybody to the king. But I've had a lot of players that I really, really admired through different eras. You know, like English players, I had a strong liking for David Platt and Paul Gascoigne, two of my favorite English players of all times. Um, Current English players,
I
Bukayo
love
Saka,
soccer.
Declan Rice, superstars. You know, I used to like Redondo from Argentina, Fernando Redondo, and what's his name again? Juan Sebastian Veran played in number 4. Yeah. Cesc Fabregas is one of my all-time favorites as well. Yeah. I generally like midfield players, to be quite honest with you. So, you know, I've had a number of midfield players down the years that I really, really like. Edgar Davids is one of them. But when you talk about who sits atop the throne, who sits at the top of the peak of the pinnacle, that there's only one,
I have to agree
King
with you
Pele.
on that. Growing up, Pele was everything. Pele was everything. And when I hear other people saying that Messi's the greatest player of all time, look, I mean, to each his own, but for me, there's no one but Pele. Pele is king. And I love to go back and watch the old videos. And I mean, it never gets old. It never gets old. And I have to ask you next, Munir,
Ever gets old.
who do you think is the greatest player, or who is your favorite player of all time?
Lionel Messi.
Okay, okay, okay. And for you, Camille, who is your favorite player, or do you think is the greatest of all time?
I join you, Monero. Definitely Messi.
Okay, okay, okay. Coach Andrew, what is the benefit of children playing a team sport?
The benefits are many. I think Monir mentioned a few, Camille mentioned a few as well. But you know, and I also mentioned a few of them. You know, kids have a certain innocence about them that us adults have done a very good job at spoiling that innocence in so many ways. You know, like the kids don't need to know each other. You know, you give them a ball and they all just gravitate to the ball and start to play. And before the day is over, they know each other's names. They know which school each other go. They know some of them know whose birthday is the same as theirs and so on. And you didn't tell them anything about that. You know, they just figure it out on their own. You know, so that social side of it is is one of the biggest things that for me. Um, they learn to depend
Yes,
on each other. They learn to they learn how to, what do you call it now, segment roles. You know, so even when you don't do anything, you just create the environment and you watch them. They will say, Bree, you go in the goal. Lucille, you go and play defense. Camille, you go and play forward. And Munir, you go and play midfield. And Andrew, you go and play left back and so on. They just do it
yes,
by themselves, you know. They just look at each other and they learn how to segment roles. And that might seem simple to some people, but it shows a high level of intelligence that they are looking at each other every day and understanding who is capable of what, who should do what, who does what best. You know, they know who should go in the goal. All of these little things they figure it out for themselves in most instances. You know, and then that creates the dependability, the dependency on each other, that they know that I need Bree to be the goalkeeper, otherwise we can't win. And if Camille not playing forward, we're not going to win and so forth. You know, that kind of part of it. Um, they learn to become reliable. So, for example, when they know that they have to carry the team as the goal scorer or the defender or the goalkeeper, they develop a sort of, let's say, pride or sense of responsibility. So, for example, we have a really promising U9 group now, and that U9 group is not a proper U9 group because we actually have 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds in the group. When you see them go on the field and you see them organize themselves and how they treat their responsibilities. So you have a couple of them who they're not so very interested in scoring goals, you know. They are more interested in preventing goals, making sure nobody scores, you know. And then the other day we were at a match and nobody wanted to go in the goal. And a little man just said, Coach, I'll go in the goal. And no, him don't want to come out the goal. Him budding up him mommy more goalkeeper gloves and so on. So there's just so much that the kids learn about the game and themselves and each other. Um, it's amazing. You know, they develop friendships that will last for lifetimes, not just with those in the academy, but even when they go to different tournaments. You know, I still see some of our kids messaging and showing me Instagram messages with kids from other tournaments we went to in the States, in Trinidad. A lot of them know each other on the circuit here in Jamaica locally, you know, and they develop the spirit of competition. You know, they know what it is like to compete. They know what it is like to win. They know what it feels like to lose, to bounce back from losing. So they develop resilience. You know, we could go on this for days, believe you me. But it's a lot that they learn, and we are happy to provide that for them. And I want to say this on this platform because it's a burning issue in Jamaica right now. Since we have started Genesis, there's no player, no parent, no organization who can point a finger at us honestly to say that we have cheated by playing players older than the age group that they are playing in, right? That's something that we will never ever do. We treat that matter very, very seriously. And we prefer to play 4-year-olds in a U10 competition than to play a 11 or a 12-year-old, right? So that's one of the values that we want to pass on to the kids and the parents that come around us every time.
Yes, well, you know what? When you win and you win fairly, I think it makes the victory even sweeter. I don't see how you can enjoy a victory where you know you cheated and you didn't do the right thing.
100%. But you see, when we treat football as a game of life in a breed, we can't want to win only on the field because that will cause us to lose off the field. You know, so a simple thing as playing an 11-year-old boy in a U10 competition, you're already teaching that boy that it is okay to cheat. You know? You're teaching him that you can manufacture things and you can circumvent rules and laws and all of these things. And invariably, some of these kids that are a part of this cheating are the ones that comes back to become criminals in our society.
It's true because
whether it is white collar crime or violent crime, whatever level you want to stagger those criminality is the same thing. So for us, we know we have lost parents, not because they want us to cheat, but because we don't win as often as they would like us to win, right? And we know that some people, their focus is just about the winning and not about the development, and they don't care so much about the other aspects of the football. But I'll use this opportunity to say also that since 2019, with the exception of a couple of young ladies from Ormond Technical High School, all the players from Manchester who have been invited to a national team had come through Genesis. Every single one of them, barring a couple of young ladies from Ormond. Right? Whether they came to us for 1 week, 2 weeks, or 10 or 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, they were touched by Genesis. Every single one of them. So we are doing something right. We are doing things that are helping kids to access opportunities in terms of their football career, in terms of their academic journey. And these are the things that we value very, very dearly.
Well done. Well done. Lanier, I have to ask you, what are your goals for the future?
So one of them is to do well my PEP exams. The second one is to join the under 14 to D Cup for the high school that I pass for, and to go professional in international.
Remember me when you signed that deal. I want your autograph. I want to be able to say, I remember, I remember having an
Certainly,
interview
certainly.
with this young man. Honestly, I really believe that you will accomplish your goal.
Mhm.
Camille, my next question is for you. How important is parental support to an athlete?
All right. Parental support is everything. You know, kids kids need to know that someone, but most of all, their parents is in their corner, especially when things get tough. And this is one of the things that I've observed at Genesis. Not we don't only stand for our children, but we stand for the rest of children that is there, because it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've observed at Genesis is that our focus is so broadened, where we don't only focus on our children, our but we focus on the rest of children that are there. And hats off to these coaches, because they are not only parents for their own children, right? But they parent these children that are there. They are what I'd call it, the football parents. Yeah, I should say so, right? But um, let me say this: when parents show up, it motivates them to push harder,
Yes.
and they enjoy the game more and believe in themselves way, way more.
Yes. Yes, that's an excellent point. That is definitely an excellent point. Coach Andrew, how important is parental support?
Bree, Bree,
It's
sorry, go
okay.
ahead.
No, no,
Go ahead with your question.
you can
Sorry,
go
go ahead.
ahead.
No, no, no. I think because of the question you're about to ask, I might be able to say exactly what I wanted
Okay.
to say. Go ahead,
How important
please.
is parental support to the academy?
Thank you for the question. So I wanted to piggyback on something Camille said earlier. That about how important it is for the parents to be there for their kids, and also the fact that while some parents are unable to be there sometimes or all the times in some instances, we have like a kind of surrogate group around the parents. But the question you asked me specifically, um, without the parents, there is no Genesis Football Academy. It's as simple as that. If the parents don't trust us to take care of their children at training, for going on tournaments, to take their kids overseas, there's no Genesis. It starts there.
What can the
Parents
community
contribute.
do to support? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Sorry, yeah, the parents contribute of their time,
Yes.
their skills, their resources. All right. And I always say to the parents at Genesis, that the day when we get a significant number of our parents fully involved in the academy, you're going to see us scaling heights that you probably won't even be able to imagine at this moment. We have gone to tournaments in the past where it was just myself and another coach. But the last tournament we had just last weekend, we had the biggest parental support we have ever had in our 9 years of existence at a tournament. And over those 2 days, some 80 kids were properly fed throughout the entire 2 days.
Wow.
The hydration was there. They were supervised. They were properly taken care of. Right. And that is something that we have always been yearning for, and we got it last weekend. And I have been challenging some of the parents already that when we set the bar, the only way the bar goes is up. We keep it where it's at, or we keep moving it up. And I want to use this moment, this platform again, to salute those parents led by Shanique and Kimali and Alicia Smith. That those three ladies were the ones who came together and brought the others around the table, as far as I know. If I'm wrong, then I'll put my hands up and apologize. But they really pulled the others together and created a really, really good and positive experience for the kids this past weekend. And I know that these parents are going to transform Genesis in ways that we are not yet seeing or capable of imagining.
And I bet it made a
You
difference.
can
I
go on
bet
with
it
your
made a
question,
difference
please.
for the kids having their parents there to watch them play.
Absolutely, 100%. No doubt about it.
My next question is, what can the community do to support the Genesis Football Academy?
I think you miss a word in the question. I think you should say,
Well,
what
what
more can the
more? Yeah, what
community do?
more can the community
Uh,
do?
yes, because this is a community right here, right now, and you are doing your part, Bree. We are grateful. We are very, very grateful. Our parents, our coaches, they form part of that community, and they are giving of themselves and their time, as we said before, almost every day. You know, where we train currently at Brooks Park, the park is managed by the Brooks Park Management Committee on behalf of the Parish Council, who who maintains the park on behalf of the people of Manchester. All right. And we are grateful for that because it is because of that community spirit. When we just started the academy, we were at Manchester High School. After COVID, we had was to move to Clarkstone Battersea Community Center. And we were very much well received and welcomed in those communities. So the communities are always looking out for us. When we have our fundraising projects, the communities come out and support us. Of course, we always believe and expect more, believe that they can do more, and we expect more. The people who sponsors our projects, our tournaments, or whatever we do, we have a few of them who have been with us from day one. Like We Care Pediatrics, for example. They were there when we started Genesis in January 2016, and they continue to give off themselves to us. There are others who have come on board since then. you know so we have a nice community that bolsters us. Of course, as we evolve and grow, and develop, the demands on the academy also grow and evolve and requires more. And that is why I say that it is really for the community to do more, not just do what they have done before or what we are getting now. And again, I want to emphasize, it's not always about money, right? Because sometimes efforts can accrue more money than you giving $100, just for argument's sake. Um, Everything comes down to money without a shadow of a doubt. And so our ability to raise more funds, to get more sponsorships, to get more donations will always increase our capacity to do the work that we are trying to do. And so we want to say heartfelt thanks to all the communities that support what we do. Our coaches, our parents, the different communities from which the kids come, the schools from which they come, your platform, you personally, Bree, and all those other persons. Some of them I don't even know who would have given donations recently. We are grateful because your token contribution, small or large, is helping us to provide the opportunities that we desire to provide for these young people. So we want to salute and thank those who have given. We want to salute and thank those who are giving, and we want to salute and thank those who will be giving.
I have to, my last question of the evening, I have to talk about the female players. Let's talk about the female players and how the female game has definitely evolved. I would like you and Camille to share your opinions on that. And I'm asking this question because I'm thinking of Jamaica as an example. The first World Cup that the female team played in, I knew that they weren't contenders, but it was amazing that they came back 4 years later. The improvement in their play, I mean, they went far and they did an awesome job. So I'd like your opinion on that.
Camille, you want to go
Sure.
first?
Go ahead, Camille.
Um, Listen, this is a very touchy topic, because people have this tendency to say, females cannot do what the men can do. But no, let me say this. It's amazing and thrilling to see the females being a part of this sport and a
Yes.
part of the academy. Um, I personally think it's key and it's important, for girls to be a part of this sport, and that there's always space for them in football. Um, I would really love to see more encouragement for the girls that, in football, here in Jamaica, because I get to realize that, they were more to support the men in football more than the ladies. So I'd love to see, a different level of support that goes towards female in this sport.
Yes.
They deserve the same opportunities and they have the same talent as the males have.
I agree. I agree 100%. Coach Andrew?
Yeah, thank you. Listen, the female game is growing. It's growing by purpose and by intention. And there's no question about the fact that the young ladies are representing themselves and their female counterparts with distinction globally. But I want to just zone in on Genesis specifically. Excuse me. So shortly after we were formed, I am still grappling with who was the first female player at Genesis, and I probably really need to do some proper digging to make sure I have my facts straight next time around. But we had a young lady by the name of Drew Watson. Um, I think she was our first female player. She played with the boys and won tournaments with Genesis. We have a young lady by the name of Nicasia Thompson. She just played for the Jamaica under 17 team in Nicaragua a couple months ago. All right. And she came to Genesis by chance, so to speak. So she was at Manchester High School one Saturday morning for athletics training while she was in primary school. It so happened that the training was cancelled and she was not aware. And I saw her just, looking lost. And I invited her to come and, make a call to her mommy. And while her mommy was on her way to get her, I asked her if she wanted to play with the boy. She will tell her own story because we are currently doing a mini documentary on the academy, and she's one of the highlights in the documentary. I'll be sure to share it with you when it comes out,
Yes.
Bree. She'll tell her own story, but the fact of the matter is that she stumbled upon Genesis and she has already represented Jamaica at
Wow.
under 15 and under 17. And she has big aspirations of going pro. And I believe that she has the capabilities of doing it. We have had other female players who have gone to the national team. We have Amora Rowe, Ailey Da Costa, Jaroni Dixon. Jaroni's story is another one that I'd like to spend a minute and share because her eldest sister plays the game as well and introduced her to Genesis, but mommy would not have it. And I remember having to call mommy and I said to her, Mommy, Mom, I'm not calling you to try and convince you and to try to interfere in how you want to grow your child. But I believe that if you will give us an opportunity, I believe that your daughter has what it takes to become a national player. All right. Just trust us and we will deliver. And Jaroni, she hasn't represented the country in a full international match yet, but I believe that this summer will be her breakthrough year. She will become a full international, and once she becomes that full international, there will be no turning back for her. Currently, we have my own daughter Adia, her best friend Aria, both of them 10 years old, going on 11. We have Adio, Addison Vardan Love is the correct name. She's actually going to be going away to the Real Madrid camp in the summer. These are the youngest girls that we have in the academy. We have a few older ones who have not. They don't train as frequently as I would love them to, and it's something that I am grappling with in terms of how we can change the landscape or the environment to encourage more girls and encourage them to stay consistent. Um, but I would say that in terms of football academies in Jamaica, there are two all girls academies in Jamaica. And then there are probably about three or four other co-ed organizations that I would say um, are on par or slightly above, if not below us, in terms of our
Yes.
investment in females playing the game. And, um, we have had the benefit of partnerships with Michelle. Oh, gee, I'm not remembering Michelle's surname now, but Michelle is a part of Fit for Her out of Florida, and Stacey Wilson, a former national player for the U.S. women's national team. Those two ladies and their group, their network, their organization, they would have invited Genesis to some of their programs, and they would have supported us through their donations and their training methodologies and constant checking in. So we are building the network. We have a strong platform. We have success stories, and we will continue to do that and try to ensure that we bring more young ladies into the space to play and benefit from it. And in the event that there are any parents locally in on the call, I'd like to make it clear to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the opportunities in the female game far outstrip those for the men right now. The game is growing way faster than the men's game can continue to grow as it is now. There are way more scholarships, way more professional opportunities. So if your daughter is or niece is interested in the sport, give them the support, as Camille said before, because you
Yes.
never know where that support will take them.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Well said, Andrew. Well said. I have to tell you guys, I really thank you for coming on tonight. Andrew, you have an open invitation. Just let me know when you want to come back. And I really enjoyed this evening. I'd like each of you to give your closing thoughts for the evening. Munir, is there anything that you would like to say to the viewers before we sign off?
Okay, so Genesis is one of the best clubs in Jamaica or academy because they're so in the environment is just kind, lovely, more respectful. I love the place how they're respectful and how they act and do stuff. And I think how I jo- how the club has been. I think is I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm there. So anytime I'm training, I have to show that passion, hard work, especially on tournaments to show that I am capable of winning and winning everything that I can do.
I have to read this to you for you, Munir. Stephanie says, "Love the little man," and I have to tell you, you're a brilliant young man. I can see that your future is bright. I can see that your parents have done a great job with you, and I can see that Coach Andrew and all the other coaches have done a fantastic job. And I'm very proud of the job that you did tonight. I have to say that to you.
Thank
Any
you.
closing thoughts for you, Camille?
For sure. Um, Let me say this: Genesis Football Academy is more than just a training ground. It's also an institution of respect, being happy, being accountable, staying motivated. It's not just about winning, um, being courteous, and the list goes on. I am definitely grateful for the positive impact that it has both on myself, my child, and for sure, other parents and players of the team. Um, I definitely pray that more parents will get on board and join the Genesis family, because definitely so it will help us to grow And um this academy here definitely makes a difference, and it doesn't only makes a difference amongst us Genesis Academy family, but I can definitely say, you know, for sure, when you go out there and you speak about the academy, I can say for sure what it does to someone else. Just give it just by speaking, and they give a listening ear. Genesis, Genesis, the way to go.
Andrew, with parents like Camille, involved in the academy, you can't go wrong. And Camille, I just have to say, I appreciate your passion for the game and all that you've said about Genesis. And I really do appreciate your participation tonight. Coach Andrew,
You're
what are your
welcome.
closing thoughts for tonight?
First and foremost, Bree, let me start by thanking you for
Well,
once again giving us this platform to share our story. Really appreciate it. I want to thank Munir and Camille for joining me in the conversation. Um, Munir, I think he undersell himself a little bit tonight, as he's such a brilliant young man. He didn't tell you all that he goes to L Institute, to preparatory school, and that he's a scholarship awardee there, and looking forward to getting a full scholarship for high
I'm
school
trying.
as
I'm
well.
trying to keep. I'm
So
trying to keep my.
he's one
I'm
of
trying to keep my
our.
personality secret. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you,
You're
Munir. Thank you,
welcome.
Camille. You said a lot of things that really warms the heart this evening. I want to thank my coaches that support the work that we do at the academy. Thank all our parents for making the academy exist and continue to grow and flourish. We want to thank all of your viewers who are currently on the call, and for sure those who might view it later on when it is posted on your platforms. We would like to ask you also to share it as much as you possibly can, so that other persons can know our story. Um, Pretty much everything you need to know about Genesis can be found on our website, genesisfootballca.com. My personal contact information is there, our email address, our social media platforms, and stories from our all along our journey. There are stories shared there in video and pictures, and soon we'll have our mini documentary out before the end of this year that will give a nice um, compact review of what we have done so far, where we're looking to go. Um, yeah, and finally, I just want to say to everybody here that Genesis is poised for great things, and you would be remiss to not give yourself a chance to be a part of that greatness. Thank you so very much. Really appreciate all of you. God bless. Keep
Javon
safe.
Brown says, big up Genesis. That's a great way. We'll end on
That's one
that
of our
high
coaches.
note, that's for sure. Thank you for that comment, Javon. And yeah, once again, thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed doing this tonight. And for the viewers, if you would like to get in touch with Coach Andrew, just let me know. I'll pass your information on to him. So take care, everyone. I'm wishing everyone a blessed week. And once again, thank you for tuning in to this episode tonight. Thank you.